Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 47th episode of our first run through the House of Light expansion for Book of Hours, playing as the Archaeologist with the Sanskar Journal. I'm the Librarian of Hush House, and this journal will record what arose from my crime and my curse. The archaeologist's dearest wish when they came to the house was to record a history where their crime could be forgiven or redefined. But you can complete the game by completing any history. You might wish to begin your studies with the Skolakosophy wisdom. Memories the Archaeologist. I opened a tomb and found too late that it was a prison. The plague that I released is now my shadow, or perhaps I am its reflection. It is too late to set matters right, but it is never too late to protect the future from the past. In Hush House I can do no harm. Perhaps I can even make amends. Now, I noticed that my to-do list is actually... it's out of date. So I saw a note here that said to improve stone stories in Edicts Martial, but I don't see any lessons. And it looks to me like stone stories in Edicts Martial are already at a higher level. So I'll think about those improvements later. However, I do see that we've got Yvette Southey on the way. We've already had her on the affair of the Endless Guest. Dr. Southey went to interview Hobson in Krakow, but came first to Hush House to ensure she understood the hazards that might entail. And we're inviting her back because while we already have Kernwek Kanevek, we do not yet have Erikapean, which is, as far as languages are concerned, it's actually a rather useful one for us because I believe that's going into Illumination. So it's one of the few Illumination ones that are not going to... Oh, interesting. Okay. Illumination's a little bit of a special case, actually, but... Now, if memory serves, I brought in the fishermen by mistake. I don't think there's anything that I can do with them at this point. Yeah, an unsociable hour. It's late. Another time. And are we... Yes, we're already keeping the wild surmise. So tomorrow's main priority is going to be gaining the language. The only problem I have right now is that I don't really remember any of the other plans that I had in mind. So I'm going to take a minute here and just see... some of my options for books. So Thursley's, Ivories, and Lovelies. Now I should probably expect 2 memories for that. There is an argument to keep going with Resurgences and Emergences. However, it's also already committed to the tree. So what I would want to maybe be considering at this point would be any of the other Grail or Moth skills. So this would be Inks of Revelation, Pentiments and Precursors. We could raise Great Signs and Great Scars up to level 2. I'm going to need a bit of a think on that one. The Sun's Lament, so the Ragged Crossroads hasn't been committed yet, but I'm going to need to decide where we go with it and whether or not I want to put more points into it. Weaving and Not Working, I think, is kind of in the same boat as Resurgences and Emergences, although we haven't committed it yet. And if I recall correctly with the Beekeeper's Ends, I don't actually think we have everything that we need for that. Or we might be getting close, actually. So we can get 5 with the health, but only 6 with the impulse because we don't yet have something that will get me... Alright, so I would need another rainy day for that. Interesting. I'll give it a think. I know I've probably talked about this stuff endlessly on the broadcast, but the drawback is if I can't remember them, it's it kind of doesn't count. So the other consideration I could have would be what rooms do I want to open? That might be guided by the weather, but it's also true that we have a whist now, so, and I think a somewhat reliable way of producing Solomon's Preparation, so I should really be taking the opportunity to open up a bunch of different winter rooms. Okay, well, you know what? I do want to make I do want to actually get a little bit of progress in, so let's unpause and I'll see what the weather brings before I go any further. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. The one thing that I know for sure will be poached mackerel, a dish with forge, heart, and moon. Oh, that's right. We haven't done the salon yet. All right. Looks like looks like this was the room. So let me just double check. So we had pickled pilchards for Strathcoyne, game pie for Daymare, poached mackerel for Schaller, plum croutons for Corso, and then roast potatoes for Wakefield. And I don't know if we have... Am I going to have to leave this on the... All right. Let's change this around. Just letting it air out. All right. So yeah, the roast potatoes. I guess I can get those from the sack. I'm just a little surprised I don't already have some. And then I do see that we have a couple of orders coming in. So the other challenge that I run into is maybe I already ordered potatoes. I'm not so sure. I guess the other question now is how much effort do I want to put into opening up rooms? Maybe I want today to be about the salon. What kind of ink do I have? I hate to say it, but I actually think probably focusing on the salon is the better call. So the reasoning why... I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but my reasoning here is that I am trying to make some choices in terms of what books to read. But you'll also probably notice that some of the most effective kind of catalysts for moving the playthrough forward and starting to commit things have actually been the salons. So, again, I've got a subset of readings here that are actually quite straightforward for me to do, but the dilemma really is in terms of where I want to put all of these things in the Tree of Wisdoms. Although actually there is one small argument for not doing it today. By getting Ericapean, I know I'm going to have something that I commit to the Tree of Wisdoms that may be directly relevant to what I want to do at that salon. So there's actually an argument for doing it the day following. Now, whether or not there is an argument for me to try and push ahead on some of the other skills is another question. I may want to take a little bit of time to figure out what the most likely candidates for upgrades are. And then the other argument that I can make is that there's a clear set of Bells and Braziers, Stone Stories, and Edicts Martial. All of these are sort of candidates to get pushed higher up. So another approach that I could take towards some of the books that I can read here would be to read the ones that I'm going to put towards something like, Bells and Braziers or Edicts Martial. There's a limit to what I can pull off with that because I only have so many elements of the soul to commit to leveling up. But that might be an interesting approach. Okay, I have the startings of a day's worth of work. The other thing I'll mention is we're at the end of our time with the Christmas tree. This will be an episode that should go out at in sort of the New Year's week. So for those of you who have been enjoying all the presents on the tree, a couple of words of advice in terms of it. If you don't take your items off of it, basically this week, it'll run till the end of December. This is the one that you get on the 25th, a nice Incastum Terminale. But yeah, basically, if you don't take this stuff off, it will take until next year before you can get these things again. And should you be playing a save that goes into the next year, and if you've been watching this channel, you know that that is something that can happen, although probably more if you play like I do. But you will not get another batch of gifts. Essentially, there is one batch of gifts per playthrough. So I don't really think you want to move the playthrough around based on stuff like that. But you do want to make sure if you like the stuff on the tree and if you've been saving it, you're not going to want to save it to a different part of the house before the season's done. All right, so we've got another glassfinger toxin. I think that was to make the sacrament acite. And yeah, I'm a little reluctant to try and open up a room, not because I don't think it's possible, but because I think something like language lessons with Dr. Southey will take a little more time than I need, or than I can use, rather. And I think probably we have a decent argument for either being able to work out the next... How do I put it? Like, I'm either going to want to work out some of the books that I read prior to the salon, or alternatively, I'm going to want to craft some things that I can use for sort of my next step in terms of opening up the house. Or it may turn out that, you know, the weather winds up giving me something that changes my mind, but I'll run on this assumption that I'm going to be focusing on the language lessons, and I'm actually committing to it, so... hello there, got a moment? If there's an incident card active, you can discuss it, or just leave the slot empty and offer a consultation. I'm slightly curious as to whether or not the game holds me back from... Yeah, pick an incident that will interest them, or offer them a Spintrea for tuition. Tutoring Eric Payan. My visitor can teach me the rudiments of this elegant language, with its name so notoriously difficult to spell in any language, including itself. All right, so 3 minutes of the day will be occupied. Again, I think my expectation would be that we are not going to open a room, but let's see what the weather brings before I commit myself any further. Okay, so a gale is one of these special events. It's not something that I can use to open up the Shadowed Stair, but it's something that may push me ahead in terms of some of the characters. So if I recall correctly, Mr. Kill has a sky aspect, and I can't remember if it's... I think there is a sky for the fisherman as well. Yes. So essentially, with Mr. Kill, I'm pulling back on an element of the soul, and with the Sweet Bones, I'm pulling back on money. So I'm going to just take a very quick moment here to look at what the fisherman brings us in terms of sky, because they're... Oh, you know what? I don't have a... Well, I might have a Fost by the end of the day. Let's not rule this out as a possibility. Okay, so with the base fisherman, we get 1 sky. With the weather, they'll be up to 4. Now, theoretically, if we get the Fost, they'll be up to 5, and then we can use the astrolabe to bring them up to 6. From there, I'm trying to think if there's any sky food that we can give them offhand. I believe some of the pheasant, which we don't even have at this point, might have done the trick. And actually, come to think of it, I think eggs? No. I seem to remember there was some kind of sky food. Well, game pie, but... Let's run with the assumption here that we don't have any sky food to give them. We do, however, have tea that we can use to boost their sky. The Lapsang... Only 1. Okay, so what we would want to do then is use the Blue Crown tea. I can never remember where I put it or if I have it. But I know that'll give us 2. So let's just say the tea gives us 2. So in theory, again, there's quite a few contingencies on this one. In theory, we can get them to 8 sky. And of course, keeping in mind that we're going to kill 3 minutes worth of time as well. Yeah, I also know that I can mouse over on this, but old habits die hard. All right, cool. Nothing for us to do as far as the as far as the fisherman's concerned with the sky. The only other thing that I can think of here would be we may want to do something with the Mrs. Kill, so I'm going to do the same exercise. Again, trying to do it quickly. Mrs. K with 1 heart. The weather brings us 3, so that brings us up to 4. Now we can use core for that. So that's worth 2, which brings us up to 6. The tool will bring us up to 7. And then at that point, we talk about food and drink. Now, heart does give us a little bit more. And again, the question here really is how much can we get away with? So canned ham gives us 2, which brings us up to 9. And then I'm assuming we'll have a drink. Actually, you know what? I think heart is a little more tricky as far as drinks are concerned. So let's make sure we've got this right. So Schloss Jannings is only good for 1. The Isle Water, I think, is also a single heart. I don't recall if the Witching to Seine... Yeah, it's 2 Grail, but not... I know the Ruby Wise Ruin has a certain amount of heart to it, but I don't think that's the answer for today. Just trying to take a peek and see if there's some kind of drink that I'm missing. Not really. Okay, so we'll say that drink is good for 1, so we can get up to 10 if we... Again, the key on this is that this will be if we put everything into Mrs. Kill. And the challenge with that one is we're knocking down 3 minutes of the day. So in terms of options, we've got 8 for the Wounded Room, 8 for the Heart-Haunted Room. We've got the Dim Hall, the Veiled Chamber. Okay, so we have a fair number. Essentially, every room that we would want to open with heart is... sorry, except for the Fallen Bells, is an option there. However, I can see a slightly more convincing argument in terms of using this to read a heart or a sky text. So if we try Demotu, we're up to 7, and then again, theoretically, if we have the Faust, we could get up to 9, so we're still short. And as far as heart is concerned, we got nothing. Okay, so this one would really be a shot in the dark. So let me just see. So theoretically, if we had a Faust, that'd be 1. So bells would bring us 4. I'll double check that we don't. Yeah, Sights and Sensations also gives us 4, so that's 5. So the tool would bring us up to 6. Right, and then the memory. So that brings us up to 9. I mean, I suppose the outside option there is we don't go for... So if I try... I think, yeah, I'll probably just swing for the fences on this one. So if I do something like this with the Gale, so we're needing a 2. So what I'll do in this case, I will use the Shapt to read a book with Sky. We'll do What Does Not Bark for the Storm. Again, this is a total flyer that I'm taking here. We'll take the opportunity. I was really trying to avoid, like, I didn't want to spend too much time sort of humming and hawing over our different options. Under the things that I can commit to the Tree of Wisdoms, so I really want to be thinking about preservation skills, and I had a subset of those that I was already considering. So Quenchings and Quellings, Magaphine Mysteries, Hill and Hollow. I mean, none of these are really ones that are already on my list here, so I'm going to switch it around. So we're going to go Crawl Across Sands for beachcombing. We'll employ Oronoscopy here. What is the sea seeded today? We will use one of the health to go for a walk on the moor. Clamber up the long reaches of the moors behind the village. Lean into the wind's fluttering fist. If I know what to look for, I might find something among the rocks. So serpents and venoms ought to do the trick here. Rime rims the moor tarns. And the question is, what do I want to do with the remaining elements of the soul for the day? So I think I can't see a situation where we need to use the shaft. So fixing and mending, there's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Or add coin to find visitors seeking employment. No need for the visitors. What we're using the Gale for is an attempt at the at a book. It's a long shot, but I think it's worth giving it a shot. I suppose the other alternative would be to try and get clever with the bells and braziers. No, with 7 we'd still need another sky to work with. I've carried a memory like a flambeau safe through the mazes of night. This will complete once dawn has come. I suppose the other thing that I can do in preparation, so I haven't done anything with the vegetables yet, so let's open up the sack for the potatoes. We can use, I think I'll use a tryst for that. Identify as potatoes. These are potatoes. Spectacular. So I'm going to probably want to use the Arab to roast the potatoes, and then I am also going to need to make the tea, it looks like. So let's actually work out who gets what as far as drinks go. So Strathcoyne is going to need some kind of scale drink. We do have Strathcoyne's whiskey here, though. So if I'm so inclined, well, we can serve that. Still not getting tired of setting up the salon. Okay, so Daymare needs a knock drink. I can never remember which. Oh yeah, it's the tea. So Schaller, I think we gave him the poached mackerel because he wanted heart. So we can use water for him, or the witching to Seine, but the water's probably the safer bet. Corso's a little tricky because he wants Grail, if I recall, so that might be one for the witching to Seine. And then Wakefield wants water. Okay, so we'll pour 2 water. So this one will settle the knock. Okay, my best bet here would be just to hover over the sky, make sure I don't have any pots sneaking around. Actually, I don't need to do that. I could also use the... Actually, the Veiled Goddess would be a worse choice. Okay, so I will make the Blue Crown tea. I will pour 2 glasses of water. Okay, looks like I've already got one. Can make the cocoa for Corso. Looks like we already did. Okay, now it looks like I don't have a pitcher of water. Oversight on my part. So drop the water, lower the bucket creaking into the dark. We of course have this one, but that one came with the place. Okay, so Strathcoin's taken care of. Daymare is taken care of with the tea. Schaller gets his water, as does Wakefield. And we will have the... Okay, yeah, so we just need the potatoes and then we're good. Poured out. We may need to move this. Roast potatoes, a dish with edge, forge, heart, and winter. So I think I'm reasonably content with how the day is shaping out. I would like slightly better uses for my actually, it's my metal. I think my metal and my whist are going to be the open question in terms of how I use these. Because again, I always have the option of making money, but that's not really going to push me forward in terms of my overall goals. Fixing and mending. As they used to say in my youth, the day is done, and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Okay. Trying to think, let's keep going on the cycle of using it and then resetting it until we have a clearer idea of how the day is shaping up. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. And here we've got it. What does not bark? Alexander Props writes warily of Calyptra, a law or principle or society which prevents the dissemination of dangerous knowledge. Calyptra, like the planet that occludes the star or the Doylean dog that fails to bark, can be identified only by its absence. Even the name, I think, must be a Basque. Calyptra is said to make exceptions specifically for the libraries of the Watchman's Tree. Does it make those exceptions so the hours can make use of them? Alright, so we've got our storm. Now, I'm actually just reflecting on this for a minute. I said making the blue crown, but why do I want to make blue crown? So we've got Strathcoin's whiskey for Strathcoin. We've got the second flesh of Sam for Daymare. We've got water for Schaller and Wakefield, and then we've got cocoa for Corso. So I don't see why I would need to prepare anything else. I'm sure I was mistaken this for the book I was reading. Okay, so the last question here is, do I want to try and wait for the Faust, or do we just jump in? And I think at this point I'm going to just jump in. So I'm going to employ the health. This time we're going to use the storm. Now this is going to be a bit of a weird choice, but I'll try and justify it here. So essentially what I'm doing, this is the one that I can take a shot on. Now, if I put the gale in place, this is 8 out of 10. So really, the only thing that's going to make this work is the storm. Well, okay, sorry. What am I... Yeah, okay. So effectively what I'm running into is that I'm really, in both cases, relying on a single event to allow that to happen. There might be like a weird corner case where, you know, I can hope that I get like 2 paintings in a row or something like that. But really we're kind of banking on getting the memory or the weather for this to go ahead. So again, this is very unlikely, but I think this is worth the shot. And so I'm taking it now. And, you know, I can try and maybe prepare a little bit more by getting the Faust and incrementing by that 1. I can also improve my chances by writing or by using Stargall, which I think we might have somewhere in the house. But in this case here, this is I'm taking the shot, right? It's just it's a nice chance for us to do something with the Gale because I don't necessarily want to try anything else over the course of the day. So we'll see if it turns out. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. I could have also started it later in hopes that the Faust comes in, but again, I think at this point we're just going to say if I get the memory or the weather, then we got lucky and I'm happy, and if we didn't get the memory, you know, Easy come, easy go. And of course, tomorrow we know where we're going to host the salon no matter what. Okay, gather in winter. Unexpected unexpected finds in the folds of earth and sky. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I've never really had much use for the serpentinite slab. We may use this to make a, I don't actually think this is going to go. Oh, that's why. It's big. It's not clear what room I should put it in. Really, I should just get rid of it. I'll maybe try and use it to make an amethyst ampule. And whispering sand. Again, one of these things that just kind of winds up cluttering up the house, but you never know. So where we are right now, I'm going to leave the Moor and Crowcross Sands open. I may try and do something else with it, but right now we'll see what else comes up for the day. Wait a minute, does this say craft bitter black salts? Oh, that's really annoying. So this storm's getting used up for absolutely no reason. All right, that's a pity, but we'll move ahead. No mysteries anymore. All right, roast potatoes. You really need rosemary from roast potatoes, but fortunately the kitchen gardens at Hush House have never been short of rosemary. Okay. The funny thing is, I technically can still try the book in a minute. Maybe I want to. I just really prefer to use the health because it's something that's not essential to the salon if it winds up afflicted. But there's ways around that. So, for instance, if I use the metal, do I have a desk that will take forge and scott? Yep, the Ambrose desk. Okay, so we've got a new purpose for the metal. This will involve me finding something else to do, so we'll get another sky. We might as well read Apollo and Marsyas here. Again, later in the day then I would want to be doing this, but we'll make the best of a bad situation. And then what I might do is I might employ the core at the Sweet Bones so that I can make an amethyst ampule. Open a package, unwrap, unbox, unleash. If potatoes arrive, by the way, I will have a bit of a laugh. A little water splashes on the stones of the well to nourish the mosses there. So I do have the option of trying to restore one of my elements of the soul using the water. As tempting as that is, I think I'm going to... Well... I don't know. I have options. I think I'll refrain from doing so this time around. Better now. Alright. So here we'll employ the core. There's not much work on offer in Brand Creek, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. Poured out. So one of these is for the salon, the other one is just for use. So I wonder how many of these I can cram onto the table. There's gotta be enough room. Oh, yeah. Interesting, it's the Strathcoin. Okay, it's not as organized as I would like it to be, but I'm content with the fact that everything's on the table. One can cook with bitter black salts, but only if one uses them very sparingly. Okay. These actually feel slightly more appropriate in the forge, but so we're still waiting on the memory, and I realize I'm over time, but I'd like to use the 30 seconds to at least get this set up. And then, again, because I play quite slowly, my suspicion would be that the next stream may not have the salon, but we will definitely have it this week. Essentially everything's ready to go. I should actually write the invitations. Oh yes, actually I definitely need to write the invitations because I may have to... I may have to use an element of the soul, so I should get on that sooner rather than later. Alright. And the pheasant, right now, we have space for it, but I may, in the long run, have to start storing these on the stairs. I would expect that we'll have the Cater and Hero order come in by the end of the day as well. Okay, Apollo and Marsyas, the libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas and its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials. In the original myth, Marsyas lost the musical contest and was flayed by Apollo, who later regretted it. In this version, Marsyas' skin has a further history. The skin of Marsyas gives oracles and is later smuggled to Phrygia, where the priestesses of Cybele use it for a drum. At the climax, the striking of the drum drives would-be violators of the priestess to suicidal madness. The opera ends with a wistful hymn from the youngest priestess on the beauty of mountain pines. So once more with feeling. Sky dissonance. Perhaps. You've provided sky, but not enough to match mystery sky. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. So the question is, can I string this out for another minute without annoying everybody? We'll see. At the very least, we can commit to the Tree of Wisdoms. And if memory serves, I usually wind up committing this to the... I usually wind up committing this to Illumination, so... I have learnt enough to puzzle out books in this language, though it might be slow going. Arikepean, a language of surpassing beauty and elusiveness, revealed through the ecstatic apprehensions of the Orphics, the Eleusinians, and the Sibyls of the Rhine. Arikepean, these mystics claimed, allows for the elaboration of hues, sensations, and states of mind too subtle for grosser tongues. So, of course, it's known in the science fiction version of this game as the Elcor language. So, we will go to Illumination. The King and the Key. There's a story told by students of light that a great and golden king held the only key to his deepest prison cell. One day he asked his minister to make 8 copies and distribute them among the people. But sire, the minister said, if a rebel contrives to enter our palace, might they not release their confederates? They might, answered the king, but all kingdoms fall, and one day I might myself seek release from that cell. So yet another element of the soul. So we will see the result of my my roll of the dice for the Uranoscopy lessons. We'll probably focus on the Salon before I commit anything else. Let's see what happens here. All right, that wasn't too frustrating. But yeah, so I'm probably not going to try and commit anything else to the Tree of Wisdoms before the Salon. So the last few steps are really going to be trying to find out what I can do with my Shapt, Trist, and Faust elements of the soul. But when tomorrow rolls around, we will host a Salon, and then we will see how far we can get with the resulting lessons. And then, of course, the other thing that we'll do, because it's winter, we may have an opportunity to take advantage of a strong winter memory in the form of in the form of snow. And then I will probably also take the opportunity to finally bring Reverend Timothy into the fold, seeing as we can use the Faust to invite him, and then the Shapt to get him to open up some rooms. But of course, all of that will be happening in the next episode. That will be Wednesday. I believe that means that will be the new year. So thank you very much for watching in 2024, and we'll see you next in 2025. Take care.